Hey everybody, Bobby Z here from Wigging Out with Bobby Z. It's been about 2 years since I've made a entry to my video blog. Sorry about that, I've been kind of busy. But now I'm unemployed. So I made a drag queen wig shop, which you can view down here in the box. And I also decided to bring back my blog. Today we'll be talking about my favorite things that I like to use when I'm styling wigs. Now these are just personal choices of stuff that I like to use. You don't have to follow my rules exactly. You don't even have to watch my video. You can turn it off right now if you want. But please don't. Please stay. I need some views, okay? So this is a canvas block. They come in different sizes. They come from about 20 inches in circumference to about 25 inches in circumference in half-inch increments in between. So you want to measure the circumference of your head, and then that tells you what size block to buy. I'm a 24 and a half, so I have a 24 and a half inch block for me. Canvas heads are made out of canvas or different other kinds of heavy-duty fabric. They have, they're made of the four pieces. Generally, if they're well made, this line right here, you can tell will be your center line. And these lines here and here will be your recession lines, which you can line up the wig there. That's only if they're well made. I have some blocks that they're all diagonal, sideways, scrolly. If they're a well-made block, use those measurements. If they're not, you gotta wing it. Canvas blocks have a front and a back. The bigger the size of the head, the easier it is to judge the front and the back. So the front generally will be flatter. So as you can see, this side of the head here curves around. So that is your neck, that's the back of your head, that's the top of your crown of the head, and then it comes forward onto your forehead. And so the front is usually flatter. So this is my 24 and a half. As you can see, it's really big. It's the size of my head. So this is 24 and a half. So they're made out of canvas, so they're fabric. And they usually have a plastic or a wooden base. Sometimes they have metal, and if they're old, they're wood, and they kind of fall apart. Sometimes when they're really, really big or they're really, really small, they're very round, and you can't tell what's the front, what's the back. In that kind of instance, it really doesn't make a difference, so pick one. What's in here is cork. Sometimes they'll have sawdust in them, but they're usually cork. Now you may be asking, what's that for? Why can't I just use a styrofoam head? Why can't I use my mannequin head from cosmetology school? What makes a canvas block better? Canvas heads are great, especially if you're going to be doing lace wigs or building wigs from scratch. Now, building a wig on a mannequin head or a styrofoam head is great if you have a very tiny head. Considering a styrofoam head and a mannequin head have a circumference of about 20 and a half to 21 and a half inches, which is very small. The average size head is anywhere between a 22 to a 23 and a half, depending. Pearl head pins. These are essential to doing wigs. Now, you'll see a lot of people using T-pins. I personally despise T-pins. I never use them anymore. I haven't used them in about 4 or 5 years. The reason why I don't like them is because they're made of one piece of metal, so there's like a hook on the top of the T, and hair will always, always, always get stuck in there, and you end up, when you go to take them out, you end up ruining the style you just spent hours working on. Hence, pearl head pins. These are 3.5 inch hat pins, I believe. They are from Manhattan Wardrobe Supply. You can look for them on the internet, or if you're in the city, you can go to the store. You can also find them at some vintage stores will have them, and you can also find them at a lot of florists, because a lot of times they'll use them as corsage pins. These are really great for keeping your wig on a head, tacking down, or what we call in the industry blocking a wig. They're the best for putting in rollers, though, because they're longer, and the bigger roller you get, you can actually get the pin through versus a T-pin, which you have to maneuver in the inside of the roller and all of that. Ain't nobody got time for that! If you're doing finger waves or like really fancy waves, you can keep them in place with the pins. So you want to get a little container for them. I know people that put them in a drawer or in a box. I prefer to have them standing up in a cup. This is a little mug, a little espresso size mug that I bought at a New York souvenir shop in Midtown. You can get these kind of things anywhere. It's also really good to use a shot glass. Not the double tall ones, but a shorter regular size shot glass. is perfect for these. You go through a lot of these because they'll bend, they'll break, the heads will pop off, whatever. It's normal. Like, don't think that they're cheap. Don't think it's a waste of money. They come in handy. But you see that they bend, they, have a lot on hand. My favorite brush to use on a wig is a wig brush, which has wire bristles and it has a cushion base, and they're generally made out of plastic. You can get them made out of wood as well. I find the wood ones are rarer. I don't really like using the wood ones because I use a lot of water on my wigs. I like to have them soaking wet, especially with synthetic. I like to have them soaking wet when I'm setting or doing whatever to them. And the wood ones will expand and contract with the water, and they'll dry rot or they'll break. You'll see a lot of people using just a regular hairbrush, like a paddle brush, or brushes with balls on the ends of them for wigs. Now, to each their own, but I personally feel that brushes with balls on the tips, those can break off, and then you're left with a sharp edge, and that can kind of pull the hair or ruin the hair. So I just like the wire brushes because the hair goes through very smoothly, and you can easily like detangle synthetic or human hair wigs with these. And I always have like a supply of 5 or 6 brushes at a time because eventually they start to wear out, or you'll be brushing something that's really tangled and the handle will snap off. Had that happen too. So wire wig brush is my favorite thing. You can get them by Diane, by Annie, by a lot of different companies. You can buy them online, but be sure that they don't have ball tips. I've seen a lot of metal brushes like these with ball tips too, so beware of metal brushes with ball tips. I don't like them. I also really love to use boar bristle round brushes. Now, I have these in a variety of sizes. I have a couple smaller than this. I have a couple bigger than this. This is the size I use the most, which is like a medium size. These are really great for when you have a wig that's really, 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 really fried. Like if you left your wig too close to the oven, or if you step near to a light bulb or something and it fries up. You get it really, really wet and you steam it. You get your steamer and you roll the ends of the brush, roll the ends of the wig and the brush like you're doing a blowout. Just kind of roll like this, and you kind of roll and you have tension. You roll, you pull, you roll, you pull, and eventually you will pull out that frizz and you'll polish it with the brush. A bristle round brush also really comes in handy if your wig has bangs or if you're adding bangs to a wig, because you just put it up into the hair, you roll the bangs into it like that. I'm actually rolling my hair. Oops, my hair's curly. I don't want bangs. So I'll roll my hair, you roll the bangs into the brush, and then you steam it, and as you steam it, you roll it, and then as it's cooling, you roll it, and then you take the brush out, and you get that nice, perfect little bevel in your bangs. Works every time. I also really love teasing brushes. I have a plastic bristle one, and I have a natural boar bristle one. I use this one mainly for synthetic hair, because something about plastic on plastic, it can really tease down and pack down, and it's great. These I use on human hair mainly, human hair wigs, or on an actual client, on a person's real hair. I love them because you can tease really great with it. You can smooth it down really well with it. It adds a great polish, and you can tease a whole head in like 2 minutes because it just packs it right down in there so quick. My 3 favorite combs are a wide tooth styling comb that has this little notch here that's for sectioning, so you can just section out a piece of hair, and you don't have to worry about getting out a tail comb because that's all right there. I love to have a wide tooth so that I can comb through sections and stuff like that without having the bristles be too tight. I also then use a narrow tooth tail comb. You usually will use these for foiling hair or for sectioning and like doing stuff with updos. I love to use them for roller sets and for styling when I have to get a clean line and I have to make stuff precise and even. That's what these are great for. And also the small little teeth are really great for getting knots out of synthetic wigs. If you have knots right on the end, you can kind of just, and the knot's gone. I also use a pick comb, which is this. It's a comb on one end and a pick on the other. This is great, also great for teasing, because you can get in there, and I like, when I use this brush, I don't tease like this. I tease like this, and I pack that hair down. Trust me, you change your teasing position from this to this, you will have big hair in 3 seconds. I love the pick part because then you can pack down the teasing even more. Once you're done, you can lift out the teasing with the comb to try to get it bigger, or if a place is lumpy, because we all know the teasing never turns out perfect, you can kind of pick it out. End papers. Now, you probably, if you went to beauty school, you probably only used end papers when you did a perm. I love to use end papers on all roller sets because I find that I get a tighter curl and I get a better even curl if I use an end paper on the end. There's lots of people that I know that do wigs professionally that don't use end papers. I love them. Usually you'll find them in a small little box for about 99 cents. There's like 9,000 of them because they're very, very thin like tissue paper. I don't like to use those because I find that they fall or they fly everywhere. I like to use the dispensers. Now this is a dispenser that's by Fuji Paper. You can get this at Sally Beauty. And it just comes with thin little sheets that pop up individually. And they already have a fold in the middle, so you can just put that on your end paper, and put that on your section, and roll down. Oil sheen. I've seen some people online lately saying that oil sheen makes their synthetic wigs frizzy, or that it makes them too dull, or it makes them too heavy, they don't move. Now, part of that is not using the right product. Some of it is using too much, not using enough. But I personally have had my hands in synthetic hair for close to 10 years now, and I've never had a wig frizz from oil sheen. I've had it frizz from blow dryers. I've had it frizz from a steamer. I've had it frizz in the wig dryer. I had it frizz from being by the stove. I've never, ever had it frizz from oil sheen. That being said, I love oil sheen to get rid of frizz on wigs, especially if you have a synthetic wig that's very, very fried and very dry looking. I like to wash it, get it wet, spray it down with oil sheen, brush through it, and then steam it, and roll your brush on the ends like I said, and the wig will look like brand new. Also, I love to use finishing to brush through wigs that are very tangled. Because I find that the oil adds a lubrication to the brush and you're not gonna frizz your hair, which synthetic hair frizzes either from being pulled from a knot, being pulled through the hair, that will frizz it, or from heat, excessive heat. Two favorite oil sheens are Motions Salon Hair Care Oil Sheen. It's oil sheen and conditioning spray. This stuff you can find pretty much anywhere you can find African American hair products. I love Motions. I use it in my hair. I don't use this in my hair, but I use Motions a lot. Everything has a really great scent. It's very light. It dissipates out within a couple hours. You're not left with the residue. You're not left with a buildup. I love Motions. Before I switched to Motions, I was using Finishing. I love Finishing as well. I do find that some people don't like the scent of Finishing. I've had other stylists call it my grandma spray, but I still use it because I love it, and it gives a very, very, very light. And I douse my wigs with it, and I've never had a wig turn out greasy, and I've never had a wig turn out frizzy. I'm also really particular about the sectioning clips that I use. I really only use two different kinds. I use these guys, which I call duckbill clips, but I've had people call them do-alls, I've had people call them alligators, I've had people call them clippies, whatever. I call them duckbill clips because it kind of looks like a duck. Quack, quack, you see. There's also these, which are alligator or crocodile clips. I love these things to death because it has this magic little hinge right here. So, like, if I put my finger in here, that's like a head of thick hair. Watch. It closes, it'll close around the section so that you don't lose tension. You can hold an entire head of hair up off of a client or off of a wig with one of these. I have only met one woman in my entire life who had so much hair on her head that I had to use two of these. Now with wigs are often very, very thick. Especially for my drag wigs, I usually add at least 2 packs of wefting, if not more. So then you need 2 or 3 of them to hold them up. I have a whole bunch of both. I have all my do-all duckbill guys in this vase, which is just a flower vase, but it's great. They come in, I've seen 2 different kinds. There's the heavier duty kind that have the holes in them like this, and then there's the cheapy, thin ones like this. They pretty much do the same thing. I find that the ones with the holes, they are stronger, so they won't bend as easily, but if you're on a money crunch or a time crunch and that's all they have are these guys, the guys without the holes, get them, it's fine. These are also really great for taking small sections, for doing finger waves, for doing spit curls, stuff like that, where you have to hold a wave or a curl in place. These are great for that. I also keep my crocodile alligator guys in a little a little vase like this, so I can just grab them and go. Next are rollers or curlers, whatever you want to call them. I usually call them rollers. And rollers come in all different sizes, shapes, colors, textures, patterns, whatever. You name it, you can probably find a roller with it. I prefer to use wire mesh rollers. Now, this is 4 different small ones that I have. Now, there you can see they're called wire mesh because, as you can see, there's a wire spring inside, and then they're covered with a mesh. I mean, who thought of that name? They're brilliant, right? I love them. They come in so many different sizes, as you can see here, all different sizes. They come really big, they come really tiny, and everything in between. I love wire mesh rollers for 2 different reasons. Number one, the metal wire on the inside, when you steam it or when you put it in the dryer, heats up and accelerates the drying time and the setting time of your wig. Two is that because of the mesh fabric of them, air, steam, water, product, whatever, flows equally through them so you dry faster. So my 2 favorite hairsprays are Pump It Up Gold, which is by Bronner Brothers, which is another African American brand. But it's so great. It turns basically to plastic. You spray it on the hair, you let it air dry, and it's like plastic. It's great, and it washes out. And I also like to use the Got To Be Glued Freezing Blasting Hold Spray. This stuff's great, and it kind of looks like a foghorn. I love it. I used to use this on my hair when I did like crazy spikes in high school and everything. It's great. The only thing about these hairsprays that I don't like is that they do tend to flake once you start to brush them or comb them. Now, that's what happens. That's cheap hairspray. This is $6. This is $6. That's just what happens with cheap hairsprays. They flake. Now, if you do brush your wig and you find that the hairspray does flake, just do a light spritz of water or a light spritz of rubbing alcohol. 91 or 99% is best. 70% works or 75% works, but the higher the alcohol percentage, the faster it dries. So if you spritz your wig, your flaky looking wig, with water or alcohol, and then smooth it with your hands or comb it, the water and or alcohol will reactivate whatever product's in there, and the flakes will melt. It's almost like snow. The flakes will melt, and then when they dry, it'll dry in the place where you left it. Hairspray, wow! Well, I guess that's it. So I hope you enjoyed my favorite things, and I hope it prompted you to get out there and explore some hair. And remember, check out my Etsy store below, and also follow me on Instagram where I post pictures of all my wigs and everything I'm working on. I'm a little bit obsessed. So follow me on Instagram, check out my Etsy shop, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. Bye.